You're 14 years old, refreshing your phone, watching adults panic online, careers collapsing, public apologies going wrong, entire futures ending in comment sections. And you haven't even chosen who you want to be yet. Here's the unsettling part. Your brain is already learning a lesson most adults didn't learn until much later. Everyone keeps trying to explain Gen Z like something went wrong. Phones, attention spans, motivation. But that explanation never really fits, because Gen Z didn't grow up in a broken world. They grew up watching the world break in real time, publicly, repeatedly, and without anyone stopping it. And that changes how a mind develops. Gen Z is the first generation that never experienced life before the internet. Not as a tool, not as a convenience, but as an environment. From the moment they became self-aware, life existed in a shared space. Thoughts were visible, opinions were permanent. Mistakes didn't fade, they circulated. Likes, views, screenshots, leaked DMs, group chats. When every mistake has an audience, you don't experiment freely, you calculate. That's the psychological shift most people miss. Privacy used to be the default. For Gen Z, visibility is the default, and identity forms under pressure. You don't just ask, "Who am I?" You ask, "How will this look? Who will see it? How long will it follow me?" Earlier generations learned by doing. Gen Z learned by watching. They didn't just fail and adjust, they watched thousands of people fail online before ever taking a step themselves. They saw careers end early, reputations disappear overnight, entire paths close before they were even opened. So Gen Z doesn't leap and reflect later. They simulate, they anticipate, they overthink. They learned the ending before they were allowed to start. This is where anxiety enters the picture, and it's widely misunderstood. Gen Z didn't become anxious because they're fragile. They became anxious because they grew up never off stage. Constant comparison, constant evaluation, constant awareness that someone is always watching. Emotional safety starts to matter more than excitement when you've seen how fast things turn permanent. There's a quiet thought underneath it all. If I mess this up, I don't get a reset. That mindset shows up clearly in how Gen Z relates to work and systems. They don't trust institutions by default because they watched institutions fail where everyone could see it. Banks collapsed, degrees lost value, hustle culture burned people out in public. Authority figures said one thing online and did another offline. So Gen Z stopped asking, "Does this look impressive?" and started asking something colder and smarter. Does this still work if everything goes wrong? Ask yourself honestly, if you had watched that much failure that early, would you bet your life on one path? This is why Gen Z avoids ladders, questions permanence, and prioritizes flexibility. It's not a lack of ambition, it's risk awareness formed young. What looks like disengagement is often self-preservation. What looks like entitlement is often boundaries learned early. Emotionally, Gen Z guards themselves carefully, and there's a reason. Screenshots don't disappear. Context doesn't travel. Vulnerability can be replayed by people who weren't there. So humor becomes armor. Irony creates distance. If you joke first, you stay in control. If you care openly, you risk exposure. In the Gen Z mind, visibility doesn't feel empowering, it feels dangerous. But here's what gets overlooked. Gen Z is extremely adaptive. They pivot quickly because they were never taught that stability was guaranteed. They build identities in modules, skills over titles, options over promises. They don't cling to one version of success because they watched too many versions collapse in front of them. They're not lost. They're calibrated for uncertainty. Gen Z isn't broken. They're shaped by a world where information is endless, rules change mid-game, and mistakes don't fade quietly. They didn't inherit trust in systems. They inherited awareness of how fast systems fall apart. And if you were 14, refreshing your phone, watching adults lose everything before you even began, you'd think differently too. So the next time someone says Gen Z is too sensitive or too different, pause and ask a better question. What kind of brain survives best in the world that never forgets? If this gave you a clearer picture of how Gen Z actually thinks, subscribe for more psychology breakdowns like this. And if you want to support deeper explorations like this one, becoming a channel member genuinely helps more than you realize.